Today, we are going to be discussing which Tissot PRX is right for you. If you are looking for a new Tissot, the odds are you've seen the new Tissot PRX 35mm. Now these come in a couple of different colours if you're looking at the steel variants. You've got blue, you've got green, you've got white, which isn't really white, and we'll move on to that in a second, and you've got black. Now something that people don't know or don't really talk about is the fact that there's actually a steel and gold variant that comes in at about £1,700, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to kind of neglect that because that's pretty pricey. Welcome back to Time on the Wrist at Chisholm Hunter. My name is Harrison, as always, and I hope you are enjoying the fact that we're back in our original set, but let's fire straight into the specs of these watches. First things first is the obvious spec that everyone's talking about. It's the fact that it comes in at 35mm. Now this is quite small, it's quite dainty. For my 6.5 inch wrists, it just doesn't fit. I'm never going to lie to you guys, I never would do that. It's just not for me. However, if you have smaller wrists and you enjoy smaller watches, it could be for you. The thickness of this watch comes in at 10.9mm, so it is relatively thin, but I would have expected thinner for a 35mm watch. With that said, remember that they've still got the same, or almost the same, Powermatic 80 movement in this watch that's in the 40mm variant, so it's quite smart how they've squashed that movement down into a smaller watch. I don't really know the mechanics behind it, but it's pretty cool. It comes in at 35mm in length, and I did manage to spend some quality time with these watches yesterday. I had all four of them in the studio and I managed to get them on the wrist, and I can say that the quality remains extremely high for the price. Just because you're minimizing that face down and slimming down that bracelet a little bit does not mean you're losing any quality from the 40mm to the 35. The bracelet on this watch is pretty identical to the 40mm variant bracelet, however it is that little bit slimmer and that little bit smaller. It does have the same butterfly clasp at the bottom, which looks pretty incredible. That Genta inspired design in a watch at this price is pretty hard to find apart from Tissot, which is pretty impressive. But one thing I would say, because you're slimming down that bracelet, because you're slimming down that face, the quick release functionality is a little bit difficult to use. It's a little bit difficult to pinch those little levers that release the bracelet, just because it's such a small, dainty watch. And I'm kind of in two minds about this because I like the fact they've included it, but it's also that little bit harder to use. You can't win. The case and the bracelet of this model come in 316L stainless steel, exactly the same as the previous variant, but it obviously weighs a lot less than the previous variant because it's smaller. It comes in at 97 grams, which is really quite dainty. And also, remember that that's without links removed. It also has sapphire crystal glass with anti-reflective coating on the front of this watch, but only one side of the glass is covered in this anti-reflective coating. Now, I know that there was a big debate, especially about the Omega Seamaster, when they did double anti-reflective coating on both sides, because technically speaking, it does scratch more. So rest assured that this only has it on one side, and it won't scratch as easy as if it had on both. This watch is also resistant to 100 meters of water. Resistant to water? And now we get onto the movement of this watch before discussing which one of these is right for you. And obviously the movements and these watches can be seen on Chisholm Hunter's website, where we're official stockists of Tissot watches. The movement on this watch is fully automatic and is that incredible Powermatic 80 movement that we love from the Swatch Group, which, by the way, the Swatch Group, is that an alarm? In case you didn't know, Swatch Group actually own a ton of different brands within the industry. For example, Breguet, or for example, Omega. And Swatch Group love using ETA movements in their less expensive watches, for example, Tissot. So it's a pretty good movement for the price, and I have no biases towards in-house movements. I would much rather a brand used ETA movements, mass-produced movements, rather than in-house movements when they weren't ready. Now, what you saw from a lot of brands, I don't want to name drop anyone here, but what you saw from a lot of smaller brands when they started going in-house is their movements weren't actually built as well as ETA movements or mass-produced movements that are bought in. So I would much rather the latter. The Powermatic 80 movement has up to 80 hours of power, and it also has a patented Vacheron balance spring. The diameter of the movement comes in at roughly 25.6mm. And now we get to the dial colors and the dial detail on these watches and which one is right for you. And obviously, if you guys think Chisholm Hunter's right for you, you can hit that, subscribe button. Let's start with that white dial, or as it seems on Tissot's website, white dial. Now this isn't actually a white dial, and I want you guys to remember this because I don't know why they've branded it as white. It doesn't look white. It is genuinely a beautiful mother of pearl looking dial. It kind of has, in the right lights, those color flecks running through it, which is pretty stunning. Oh my god, this alarm, man.
That's so annoying.
White dials, by their nature, are a little bit more feminine looking in my opinion. However, I quite like them. I quite like white dials, and the reason I quite like them is because they do catch the eye. They are that little bit different, and they are a little bit more striking. So this watch is a loads more bold than, I would say, the other colors. It's not muted down, it definitely shouts the loudest, I would say. So if you're looking to shout the loudest, if you're looking to go to a fancy dinner, if you're looking to go into work and really catch people's eye, this is the one to go for. And now we get to the black dial, which almost looks charcoaly grey in some lights. It's pretty stunning, actually. Black dials have never been for me. Black dials are a little bit too discreet for my liking. However, I know that Drew, literally behind the camera, enjoys black dials. He got a Tudor Black Bay that is, of course, black. So it's just kind of personal preference here. However, I can see this watch being worn with more of a casual look. Black, by its nature, goes with more colors. It's very neutral, so it's not as ambiguous to wear, and people like it because of that. And I've said this so many times, but I'm gonna say it one more time for those at the back. When people sell products, or when brands sell products, normally they promote their bright colors because that increases click-through. It increases the kind of hype around that product. People are quite infatuated by those colors, but normally what they do after they clicked on the bright color is buy the less ambiguous color, for example, black. So if you're looking for that flair, however, keeping it discreet, keeping it casual, I would go for black. The next color that we have is, of course, green. Now, green is a little bit odd. It's a little bit more rare. Normally, the two that people go for are black and blue. That is the best sellers. Now, I'm biased because I actually have a green PRX, and I regret it. Let me tell you why I regret it. Soon after I bought the green dial, they released the Tiffany blue or ice blue dial of the PRX. And I was infatuated by it. I loved it. I thought the reason I bought the green was that it was striking and a bit different. But the ice blue kind of knocks it out of the park in terms of its striking nature and being a little bit different. Anyways, I totally digress. If you're wanting a watch that has both style, but is still eye-catching, it's a little bit more bold, then green is the one for you. And now we get to the final color, the most popular color amongst the Tissot PRX, which of course is blue. The business color, business blue, as I would call it. Everyone in business tends to have a blue dialed tag, a blue dialed Vacheron, a blue dialed Rolex. Everyone seems to gravitate towards blue, and I'm trying not to be biased in this video. However, I'm just not keen on blue dials. I think they're a little bit mainstream. But this video is not about me, it's about you. If you want to draw the eye, however, you also want to wear it in loads of different scenarios. Let's say work, let's say casual, let's say you take it to the gym. By the way, don't wear a watch in the gym, but let's say you take it into the gym in your gym gear. This color goes with everything. Where the green can be a little bit mix and match, the black can be maybe a bit too discreet, the blue remains bold and also remains very, very wearable. These watches come in at £610, so they are the same price as the 40mm variant. If you use CH sub discount code, you might be able to get a discount code on Chisholm Hunter's website on some models. I'm just giving you a wee shameless plug right there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed and took something from this video. If you did, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.